Welcome back to the Zen State, a division of the Kolat Information Network. So, tonight I actually want to talk about something that I have been wanting LSS to do for Flesh and Blood since its inception. Earlier this year, there was the release of Heavy Hitters, and during Heavy Hitters, um, they had this contest, if you will, of with a leaderboard of Deathmatch Arena. And within Deathmatch Arena, the limited format of Heavy Hitters, winners of those events would be etched alongside the hero that they played. And the winner, or winners, whoever, whatever hero amassed the most points, each of those winners would receive a promotional card. Um, Now, this promotional card, I'll get into what it was here in a moment, but it basically was a reprint with specialized art, and the specialized art was for um, whichever the heroes would end up winning. So this is the finalized leaderboard. We've known this for a while. Um, you'll notice Kasai had 58, KO had 44, Betsy 20, Olympia 10, Victor 10, and Reinhardt 2. This leaderboard was updated weekly. Um, Unfortunately, I think that possibly skewed some of the numbers. Um, so I have my own thoughts on that in a moment. Let me go on to the each of the other portions, and then I'll come back to it. So just a few days ago, um, there was a story that was released by the LSF's creative team that was sort of the culmination of the deathmatch arena leaderboard, where KO and Kasai they fight through all the competitors and then they find themselves in the finals. And of course tells the story of how Kasai ended up winning the tournament, and this was the final triumphant artwork. Uh, Kasai ended up um, winning all the gold that she needed to raise an army. She decided to let KO live, which that's another point I'll get back to shortly. Now, she has turned her attention back to her home world of Volcor. She has raised an army and she has turned them toward Volcor. Also, the artwork for her card in Rosetta, or warrior card, unsheathed Is this that's this picture that's being depicted. She has raised an army heading back into Volcor, and now she is meeting on the fields of battle uh, General Churls, the general who slayed her father. And she is determined to take back um, what belonged to her family. Now, what the players got for winning, the 58 winners received a full art Command and Conquer with this specialized artwork of Kasai. We don't know if it's foil or cold foil or what, um, but that was announced at the end of Collector's Week. So, why am I so excited about this? Well, as many of you know, I have a long and storied history with most, the, at the time, the only interactive collectible card game on the market, Legend of the Five Rings. And what LSS has done is something that L5R did for the entirety of its run. It made interacting with the storyline of the game, of a world, um, powerful. It made it powerful. It made you. You're already connected to some of the heroes in the game, right? You may play an entire hero exclusively. Katsu was my first hero. For the most part, I play ninjas. The only other, I dabble in others, but the only other ones I've ever played with any other seriousness are brutes and ruin blades. So that's sort of where my allegiances fall. Um, Now, if they print a warrior that is a straight up samurai, there is a good chance I may end up playing that hero. Not happened yet, but I would love that. But um, Legend of the Five Rings did was the first game to ever do it, and all of the well, I won't say all, but there was a good chunk of the AEG CCGs that also did the same thing. You can affect the storyline of the game, you get credited on the card, etc. I want to see LSS do more of this. But let's do it strategically. Let's do it a little better than what we did. Instead of having one final story at the end, and instead of showing a leaderboard at the end of each week of Road to Nats or ProQuest season or whatever, or say we did Battle Hardens or Callings or whatever. Instead of doing a leaderboard where you see all of the points for those events, let's not give them all the information. I think this ended up skewing some of the information here with the last few weeks about forcing KO and Kasai. Now, I will say, playing uh, KO was extremely easy to force. Um, because you have more cards in the pool that you can get for her or him, gender non-binary, whatever. Um, Reinar is a little more specific what you have to get. KO is easier to build. It's much easier to build an easy pool of KO than it was of Reinar. I can't say anything about Kasai because, again, I what little I did play, I was on brute. It's that's just me. That was, faction um, C of my groupings. What I would like to see is a short story. Maybe it gives you a hint of some of the players. Um, let's say let's. I won't say it'll show somebody getting knocked off, getting defeated that or pushed down the chain, but kind of sow seeds of this person may be moving up in the rankings, this person may be slipping back, etc. And you can do that with story. Um, and I think that would have made this much more compelling and would have made the players, instead of you know trying to, hey, I want to make sure that Victor is the winner of this event, or you know maybe you go for your favorite hero instead of what you think is the best one, or again, that's an old L5R Legend of Five Rings trope of I play my faction and no one else. That's who I am, win, lose, or draw. And then you have some that want to win at all costs. I would say try to hide some of this information. That's just me. Um, and I like the idea of the story. Um, Granted, I know it can't be done on the same scale as Legend of the Five Rings, but being able to give such a unique gift, and I do mean unique, 58 wins, 58 players who played Kasai, now win one of 58. I mean, that's what this is. There's no telling how expensive this card will be. What you have done, if you have tied in the financial aspect of Flesh and Blood um, with a reprint of a powerful card, unique art, um, updated templating and rules text, all that kind of stuff, without tanking the card's value. Command and Conquer is one of the best cards in the games, in the game period. Um, now, it probably was going to be Command and Conquer for whoever won, with a different piece of artwork, obviously, because it made sense. But I think that's a unique way to reprint a card with special artwork, which makes it more valuable because there's only so many of those printed. Unlike what Hasbro is doing. Now, the only tidbit of things that I thought was strange with this was this is a deathmatch arena. We're playing a game that says it is for players. See if I can find it exactly. Um, Let me find an older set. Um, you have listed on your game ages 16 plus. Now, so you're seeking an adult audience. There's already blood, and gore, horror, but there's also death. You're fighting a battle, and yes, flesh and blood, while meaning that they want the game played in the flesh and blood at your local game store. They There's going to be, unfortunately, um, a winner and a loser, and somebody will probably have to die. I mean, that's the reason your life points go to 0. So to me, it would have made sense that if in the deathmatch arena somebody died. I mean, this was based off of the Colosseum that we saw in Rome, where the captured people of other countries were, thrown up against, some of their own um, Roman fighters, lions, whatever you could think of. Somebody in this list should die, right? And while I'm not condoning Reinar dying because he had the lowest point total, that is the major difference between, um, you know, flesh and blood in a game like Legend of the Five Rings. What was compelling to me is, we all know death comes for us all. Um, it's just the reality of life. There has to be death. And, whether you're a Christian and believe that you'll be, either born, reborn in heaven or spend eternity in hell, or if you're Buddhist and believe in reincarnation, that you'll be reincarnated into another life cycle again. So make sure that you realize that you could end up something worse in the next life if you don't do what's right in this life, etc. Um, the let me get back to that. Death comes for us all, and so I expect a game that with the themes that we have, that somebody would die. And in L5R, um, you knew that characters were going to die. Um, it was going to happen. Um, let's see. See if I can find it. So this in particular, during the Day of Thunder, which was Legend of the Five Rings' largest, uh, I won't say most important storyline, but it was the culmination of the first 2 years of the game's history, um, where seven heroes, one mortal hero from each of the seven factions of the game, came together to fight um, Emperor Hantai the 39th, who was basically the vessel for the reincarnated Fu Ling, um, a a god that had been trapped for over 1,000 years. What chance do seven mortals have? Well, um, this is so. What ended up happening within the games that were played when the finals happened? The last two players standing were a lion player and a crane player, and they they really, I will say, they really didn't care um, who ended up winning or losing. They knew they had defeated Fu Ling, and that Fu Ling would not remain um, the all powerful emperor of Rokugan. Uh, uh, if he had been, if had he not been killed, then he would have ushered in 1,000 years of darkness. So the lion and the crane player played out their game until they knew that the other player could not win, and that player conceded. So what happened is the lion player ends up winning, and the crane player concedes. Now the reason they did this, beyond that fact, is the fact that Akoto Toturi, the Lion Clan champion, and Doji Hotori were um, um, they trained together. They were best friends. They trained together in their youth, um, and so they had no ill will against one another. But in the purposes of the event of the story, there had to be a winner and a loser. Um, Unfortunately, what happened, and this is what was written um, on the spot by the lead writer of the game at the time, John Wick. He had a pre-written story for every faction that was there, and as each of those factions were defeated, he would tear up their story. No one would ever know of it again. Those stories were never told. Um, when the finals happened, and he had to tear up the two stories he had, the one for the lion and one for the crane, and write this ending. Um, Doji Hattori ends up getting fatally wounded by Fu Ling, uh, allowing Akoto Toturi to defeat um, Fu Ling, ending the reign of Emperor Hantai the 39th. And as the man who defeated him, Akoto Toturi would now become Emperor Toturi the First. But in the final battle, Toturi sacrificed um, made sure that the the good people of Rokugan would win and evil would be defeated. And of course, this is his death scene. He had he had a love affair with Bayushi Kachiko, um, the Scorpion Clan Thunder, um, who, um, and obviously this is their last moment together within the throne room of um, him forgiving her for what she did to him and his family, and um, obviously there was a lot going on. There's a much longer story there, but to me, this is the only missing piece to make Flesh and Blood the ultimate game. I love the mechanics. I love the heroes. I love um, the stories that we get about the heroes, the backstories and the lore. There just a couple little more pieces, and it will fully move Flesh and Blood above Legend of the Five Rings as my favorite CCG of all time. James, I know that the there are certain aspects that you want perfect. Um, you're almost there on this one. I'd like to see more of this style thing with the deathmatch arena, but you got to know, man. Sometimes you have to your characters. Some characters have to die. That's what made Game of Thrones compelling, and it also made L5R compelling as well. So thank you guys for joining me on this. If you're going to be in Tampa Bay for the world premiere of Rosetta, I will be there. I'm visiting family that weekend, and I will be there competing in the world premiere. We'll probably play The Calling the next day, or be playing Star Wars Unlimited. Be one of those two games. I will be around. I hope to get some interviews and meet some of you out there. Um, I don't think you can miss me, honestly. Uh, but in any event, thank you for joining me, and until next time, no matter the game, there is no escape from the tiger.